Good afternoon, 6th grade Bobcats. Welcome back to what I surely hope will be another great week for you here at the Helena Middle School. On this week's B.O.B Lesson, I'm going to start sharing my top 5 tips on how to academically be your best at HMS. Got a special thanks going out to some of the 6th grade teachers who helped me record these. Being your best academically is just one piece to being your best here at HMS, and it's a very, very, very important piece. Anything you do in life, you need a game plan on how you're going to be your best, and today I'm sharing 5 of my top 10 tips with you. So buckle in, pay attention. Hope you guys enjoy this B.O.B lesson, and as always, go out and make it a great week at the Helena Middle School. All right, as promised, this week's B.O.B lesson is titled Your Guide to Academic Success Part 2. But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be B.O.B. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. And let's be a learner.
Good afternoon, Bobcats. This is Mrs. Shockley, and I am a guest presenter with Mr. Flato today to help our Bobcats be their best with academic success. Tip number 1, come prepared for class. For some of you, that means actually getting yourself to school. Do some of you guys stay up too late some nights watching Netflix or playing on your phones, and then you're too tired to come to school the next day and you call that a sick day? That's not a sick day. That is behavior. So if you're actually sick and you have the flu, you have a cold, you are spreading germs to everybody, that's a sick day. And we want you to stay home for that. But if you're not sick, it's your job to get to school because school is your job. You need to come with assigned homework and your projects completed. Don't be trying to fill in those homework assignments when you're walking in the door and you got a few minutes to try to complete your homework. Try to get that stuff done before you come to school. And then coming in focused with outside issues, remaining outside. Get your mindset right and make sure that you are focused on school. Getting to class on time, no lingering in the halls, walk and talk with your friends as you get to where you're going, but try not to be late to class because your teacher has a wonderful lesson prepared for you and they want to get it going and they need you to get there on time. Bring your proper materials to class. Thinking a step ahead if you have a crazy logistical schedule. If you've got one class on one end of the building and you've got another class on the other end of the building, you might not have time to stop at your locker in between every class. So plan ahead, bring your materials, and make sure you get to class on time.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Erickson. I'm your guest speaker today for your B.O.B lesson. Tip number 2 is be an active listener. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Means you have to listen twice as much as you actually do the talking. Students make more mistakes and miss more information from not listening than any other reason. It is actually physically impossible to be talking and listening at the same time. Remember, focus on recognizing whether it is time to listen or time to speak.
Hey, good afternoon, Bobcats. This is Mr. Hogan here, bringing you tip number 3 of following directions. So why is it important to follow directions? Well, here's a couple things to ponder. What would happen if you play your favorite game without any rules? Well, the game would not work, and I'm sure all of you have been there. When everyone doesn't know the rules, the players get frustrated. And it's even more frustrating for the people who know the rules or have listened to the rules and are trying to play by the rules when everybody else is breaking them. So that's very frustrating. Or what would happen if you took a road trip to California without any directions? I bet most of you could go the correct direction, but it might take you forever to get there, as you will probably not follow the best route to California. Believe it or not, your teachers don't speak just to hear themselves talk. All right, we try to lay down the rules for the game. We want to give you a map to California. We want to lay down the rules for you to be successful. We want to lay down a map for you to be successful. So if you listen to directions and you follow the directions, you will be more successful.
This is Mr. Hunthausen, a guest for Mr. Flato. He's got this organized for me. Tip number 4, be organized. Use an assignment notebook. You all know what that red book is. Every Monday we fill it out. Write down assignments as soon as they are assigned, along with due dates and instructions. Do not save homework for the last minute. Procrastination is not good. Don't let that lazy bone take over. My kids know what that is. Today is 10/6/16, and you are viewing this lesson next week, Monday or Tuesday. As I said, Mr. Flato is super organized. Keep your lockers neat, tidy, and organized. The locker on the left looks pretty organized. The locker on the right, I see far too many of those as I walk down the hall. Now, I carry a black bag with me home every day, and sometimes I forget what I have to do that night. I just remember I have something to do, so I unload it. I unload parts of it, and I get reminded of what I need to do. So whatever works for you, stay organized, be organized.
Perfect. That's better. I like that one. It's short. It's short.
Well, it's just...
All right, Mr. Flato back here. Thank you, 6th grade teachers, for helping me out. Here is tip number 5. Do all of your work. Missing work and not doing work is the biggest thing I see in middle school that drags students down. So I did a little side-by-side scenario here to help you guys understand it. Let's pretend that we have 2 students. Student number 1 on the left, student number 2 on the right. Student number 1 and 2 do the exact same on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 out of the 7 assignments, except for 1. Assignment number 3, student number 2 did not do. The difference between these 2 students at the maybe midterm or whenever this is a 93% and a 79%. That's the difference between an A and a C. One more time. Student A and student B scored the exact same on all of these quizzes, tests, and assignment. The only difference is student number 3 did not do one. That was the difference between an A and a C. Imagine you start adding up these zeros. They start adding up and they will tank your grade so quickly. Another thing I heard from students a lot is, I did it, but I just didn't turn it in. Well, let me ask you this. If you spent 2 weeks working on a job and your employer wrote you a check for, I don't know, $1,000, would you leave that check in your pocket or would you go cash it into the bank and get your money? Something to think about. If there's anything I can stress to help you be successful this year, it is do all of your work. Zeros will kill you. All right, we're on to this week's quote of the week, and it is, note to self, that is you. You got to do this for you, not for anybody else. Do it for your parents, do it for your family, of course, but do it for you. This is for you. This isn't about anybody else. Live for you, honor you, never lose sight of that. This is your life. You only get one life. Make the most of it. That brings us to this week's Jellybean Question of the Week winners, who were Sydney Beardsley, Brian Moore, Daniel Forzitz, Kip Neal, and Liam Lassiter. The answer to last week's Jellybean Question of the Week was a floppy disk. Come see me for some jelly beans after school. This week's Jellybean Question of the Week is, there is a chain nailed to the wall. The chain is 10 feet long, and the center of the chain dips down 5 feet from where each side of the chain is nailed to the wall. How far are the 2 ends of the chain from each other? If you think you know, submit your answer into the Bob box no later than Friday. All right, Bobcats, let's go out and make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.